Hello, everyone, and welcome to His Author's Voice. And I am the author, Jack Sanger. I've entitled this podcast, How Will You Remember Me When I'm Gone? The Art of Longevity and Legacy. It's another take on how one's 80s, thought of by much of society as a period of treading water until the grim lifeguard sucks you under, how it can be a time of rich renewal, a reaping of remarkable rewards from decades of daily habit. We know that good food, exercise, social interaction, mental stimulation, and a sense of purpose prepare us for a healthy and stimulating later life. A big part of this, according to research, suggests we should build up a cognitive reserve. We should build it up throughout our lives to provide us with the creative fire that will propel us to the very end. This leads me to purpose. I grew up in a pit village in the northeast of England. Miners often died within a year or two of retirement. A mixture of silicosis and feeling void of direction other than to take up the pursuits of pigeon racing, allotments with their leak competitions. No one in those days thought to fuel their inner lives. So let me introduce you to Sanger's paradox. You'll probably have heard of Zeno's equivalent from a couple of thousand years ago. A tortoise gets a head start on a hare in a 100-metre race, but can never beat the cumbersome creature, even though the hare halves the distance between it and the tortoise every second. Never. For there always remains a distance to be halved, no matter how infinitesimal. In Sanger's paradox, there is a better outcome. The two contestants are one and the same person, but living in parallel points of his or her life. Let us say 2 points, the ages of 20 and 80. From 20 years onwards, the younger self, the hare, commits to writing, chasing after the 80-year-old tortoise. He or she continues to write and store words despite a career and family commitments. He or she writes everything from journal entries, diaries, blogs, poems, reminders, to novels and plays, so that by the time retirement arrives at, say, 67, this younger self has prepped a great mountain of literary ore, ready for smelting and refining, as he or she finally overtakes and becomes the older self. But in Sanger's paradox, the conjoined selves can never fully exploit that mountain because the older self has continued to write through daily habit, also adding ore to the mountain. Here are 3 examples of literary prepping from my life. Malcolm Bradbury, who wrote Eating People is Wrong, and my one-time tutor in creative writing, kept a notebook with him at all times. I saw him retire to the toilet at a party to write down he told me later, some racy dialogue he'd just overheard. My old friend Alan Alberg, the children's author, has dozens of stories in partial states of being for later possible completion. He pins them to his writer's wall. I once spent an evening with Jonathan Miller, the great theatre director, discussing producing Hamlet on a minuscule stage, a project I was thinking about at the time. "I've got some notes somewhere on this," he said. "Probably lost in the pile of stuff I've collected over the years on Robert Lowell." In my own case, I accumulated a trunk full of writing, from handwritten to typewritten to Word docx. Some of it seeming as if written by somebody else, as I couldn't even recall it on a later reading. So, prepare to become your older writing self in the future. Have a trunk full of ideas, plot outlines, poems, stories either half-written or written ready to work on at this later time. This is your cognitive reserve and will fuel your creative purpose in your last score of years. One of the unexpected pleasures for the older self is reading the emotion, the ideals, the inner thoughts of the younger self as it plays catch-up with the older self in Sanger's paradox. And after you've gone, who knows what relative of yours will be reading your words and connecting with you across time. For your collection of words could be your legacy. Thank you. I'll be back soon with more. Bye-bye.